शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय कैलासाधिप नमः शिवाय कैलासाधिप नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय विभूति शङ्कर नमः शिवाय विभूति शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय त्रिशूलधारी नमः शिवाय त्रिशूलधारी नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय चिदम्बरेश नमः शिवाय चिदम्बरेश नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च Humble pranams to one and all. So in the last class we were discussing the most important qualification in spirituality is choosing the Lord, choosing the Supreme Self as the ultimate goal of life. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah na medhaya na bahuna shrutena yamevesha vrunute tena labhyah tasyesha atma vivrunute tanum swam. All the great sadhanas like Shravana, Pravachana, Medha, etc., they are all good. Japa, chanting the name of the Lord, Upavasa, Vrata, everything they are good. But if we have to see the result, then the most important thing is choosing the Lord. So this is what we have seen. Just because a person does sadhana doesn't mean that he is a spiritual seeker, because sadhana can be done for so many reasons. So many spiritual sadhanas can be done keeping world as the goal. It's not necessary that God has to be the goal while doing spiritual sadhanas. To such an extent we can say, Bhagavad Gita says, Api chet sudurācārah bhajate māmananya bhāk sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hita saha kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati. Api chet sudurācārah, a person may be a rank criminal, but if he has chosen God, bhajate mam ananya bhak, worships me single-pointedly, keeping me as the highest goal. He may be a rank criminal, the most vicious person, but if God becomes the highest goal in life, then his progress is fast, he attains the goal. On the other side, there may be a virtuous person, but for him, God is not the goal, world is the goal, then there is no way in which he will get. Now see the difference. A criminal gets it because he keeps God as the goal of life. A virtuous person doesn't get because for him God is not the goal of life. Now this is what is pointed out here. So we have to ask ourselves this question. What is the ultimate goal for which I am doing all this? This is called as varana-shuddhi, purity with respect to intention, purity with respect to choice, how pure my choice is. That is why this term is used again and again in Bhagavad Gita, avyabhicharini bhakti. Avyabhicharini bhakti, devotion which is non-wavering. It is not that there are hundreds of things which are in my priority list and God also is one. Such a person will never get, that's what it is said. Only the one who has chosen it as the only thing in life, such a person gets it. So in the last class we were seeing that it is born out of understanding that there is no way in which I will get peace of mind other than abidance in the self, because whatever peace and solace I get from the world, it will be impermanent, it will be full of defects. The one who has this understanding, like Arjuna, like Nachiketa, the one who has this understanding will choose the self, and a person who has chosen the self will gain the self. So this is the meaning. Now comes a very important verse, a very important verse for all the spiritual seekers, because this verse summarizes all important things which a spiritual sadhaka must keep in mind. So verse number 24, page number 142. Na virato dushcharitat na shanto na samāhitah, na shantamānaso vāpi prajñānenainamāpnuyāt, na virato dushcaritāt, na shanto na samāhitah, na shantamānaso vāpi prajñānenainamāpnuyāt. This self is not gained just by merely gaining the knowledge of the self through the scriptures, through satsang, etc. So these are the people who will not get it. So who are they? Na aviratah dushcharitat. The one who has not withdrawn himself from dushcharita, bad conduct, unrighteous actions. Na ashāntah, the one who has not disciplined his senses, he will also not get it. Na asamāhitah, the one whose mind is not concentrated. Asamāhitah, the ones whose mind is not settled, quiet. Na ashānta mānasa, the one whose mind is disturbed. In this case, thinking of the results of meditation. Na ashānta mānasa, who is worrying about the results, and thus his mind is disturbed. Such a person also prajñānena enam na apnuyāt. Just by merely gaining the knowledge of the self, maybe listening to the self, reading about the self, reading so many books, etc., he has gained prajñāna, but then he will not gain the experience of the self. This is what he said. So these are the four things mentioned: dushcharita, ashāntah, asamāhitah, ashānta mānasah. So these are the four things all of us, we spiritual seekers, must keep in mind if we are serious in spirituality. So number one, na aviratah dushcharitat, bad conduct. So Bhagavan Shankarācharya says, dushcharitat pratishidhat shruti smriti avihitat pāpa-karmanah aviratah, the one who has not withdrawn from pāpa-karma. What is pāpa-karma? Those actions which are banned, which should not be done according to shruti, smriti, etc., and the wise people, the cultured people in the society. Those actions which are prohibited by the shruti, smriti, the scriptures, and the wise and the noble people, all such actions which are prohibited, they are called as pāpa-karma. We are not supposed to do it. But those people who have not desisted from doing it, know for sure they are not going to get it. So all immoral actions, illegal actions, unlawful actions, harmful actions, selfish actions, which I do for my own benefit or in order to harm others, all those actions are called dushcharita. So the one who has not withdrawn from all that, stopped all that, there is no way in which such a person can gain this self, in spite of listening, hearing, reading, etc. So this is a very important point to be noted. Now please understand, as far as a spiritual seeker is concerned, what determines whether a karma is dushcharita or sucharita, good or bad, as far as a spiritual seeker is concerned, is a highly evolved speaker, highly evolved seeker. So for him, the decision whether an action is good or bad is determined not by the society, it is determined by the voice of conscience. The more and more you are evolved, the more and more you are capable of listening to the voice of conscience. And it is this voice of conscience which will determine your fate, the fate of your action. So this is the inner court where we are tested and tried. As far as the gross people are concerned, they are tried in the outer court because they don't have the ability to listen to this voice of conscience. So therefore, because they are not able to listen to this, they are tried by the external court. For them, police is necessary, court is necessary, lawyers are necessary, jail is necessary, imprisonment is necessary, external punishment is necessary, because they are gross, unevolved people. But as we evolve more and more, we become independent of all these external law enforcing authorities, because we have greater and greater control over ourselves. And with greater control, you don't need an external force to discipline you. And then who guides you then? We are guided by the voice of conscience. So an action may appear to be noble for the society. In the society, people will think it is noble, but this voice of conscience will say it is ignoble. And such things are possible. A noble action done with an egoistic attitude, there will be a conscience prick. When actions are done with selfish interest, others will not know, only we will know, there will be a conscience prick. When actions are done for show off, for hypocrisy, externally the action is good, but inside I know that I have performed this action for this selfish interest. So in all such cases, you will find the voice of conscience will voice out its protest. It will not agree. There will be a conscience prick. There will be a disturbance inside. So every time there is disturbance, understand we have done something wrong. Actions were not up to the mark. So all the time you will find the spiritual seekers, true spiritual seekers, they listen to this voice, and here in this court where the judge is the voice of conscience, here we are tried and tested. So a true spiritual seeker is the one who lives according to the dictates and commands of this voice of conscience. What happens when we listen to this voice? When we listen to this voice, we become more and more disciplined, more and more focused, concentrated, alert. And more we listen to this voice, more and more the mind becomes pure. Greater the purity of the mind, greater is the ability to discriminate, to know what is right and wrong. And greater the ability to discriminate, greater is the responsibility to abide by what is right and give up what is wrong. And the more and more we live according to what is right, more and more we experience bliss of the self, because we are nearing the self. You see, this is how we evolve. The more I listen to conscience, the more and more purity, more and more purity, more and more ability to discern right and wrong. Then the greater responsibility to live what is right and give up what is wrong. And if you are able to do it, then again, when you live by the right, there is more and more bliss of the self, because you are nearing the self. So you will find that this is the path of Shreyas, which has been mentioned in the beginning. This is how a person evolves. So the spirituality is not just about reading and studying and by hearting. No, spirituality is all about living. The more and more we walk the path of righteousness, the more and more the truths mentioned in the scriptures will be revealed to us. So such a person who listens to this voice of conscience, he will only experience that peace. This has to be understood. Very many people, they have this wrong notion that peace can be imagined and gained. You can't. Because in very many times we hear this at the seat of meditation. The instructor says, now imagine that your mind is pure. Imagine that when you inhale all good things and exhale all bad things. And imagine that the mind is very, very peaceful. Now see, peace of mind is not something which you can imagine. Purity of mind is not something you can imagine, it is something to be done. So when you do noble actions, as a result of noble thinking and noble living, the byproduct or the product as a result of your noble thinking and living, what comes is peace. Peace is not something you can just imagine and gain. If that is the case, then you can just sit for meditation and then you can imagine a peaceful thing and you can gain it. It is not possible. So we have to understand this very well. Suppose I have done something wrong and there is a guilt feeling within. Is it possible that I sit at the seat of meditation and I can remove this guilt just by imagining that, let there be peace, let there be peace? No. If you have done something wrong, the guilt feeling will be there, the voice of conscience will raise its objection, will disturb the mind. Disturbance of the mind is the effect, the cause is the wrong action, and it will give you pain for some time. You can't remove that guilt, it is not possible. You have to go through it. Any amount of imagining peace will not make you peaceful. So let us understand, peace is the product of noble thinking and noble living. It is not something which can be imagined. This has to be very clear. That's why it is said, na avirataha dushcharitat. Very many times people complain, Swamiji, we have been there in spirituality for so many years, but we are not progressing. We are still in the same place. No progress has happened. Why it has not happened? This is the reason. We live a licentious life and we expect spiritual progress just because we have listened to some satsang or attended some class. It is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. To the extent you are committed, to the extent you have chosen, now that is the right word, yamaivesha vrudute tena labhya, to the extent you have chosen that self, to the extent you can sacrifice for the sake of that self. Now this is also called surrender, remember. Surrender doesn't mean doing nothing. No. Active surrender means active obedience. Whatever I think right, I will do it, come what may. Whatever is wrong, I will give up, come what may. Now this is called true surrender. This is called true obedience. This is called true choosing the self. A person who does it, such a person alone will progress smoothly in spirituality. Na avirataha dushcharita. So the first one is refrain yourself from doing everything which you know to be immoral, illegal, unrighteous, etc. This is the first stage. The second one is na ashānta. Na ashānta. So what is ashanti here? Bhagavan Shankarācharya says, Indriya laulyat ashantaha anuparataha. Indriya laulyat ashantaha. So here this ashanti, this disturbance is because I have not disciplined my senses, indriyas. Indiscipline at the sense level is called as ashānti here. Now, this is also a very important point to be noted. What are the indiscipline at the level of indriyas? No discipline with respect to eating, no discipline with respect to what I should see, what I should hear. It is not a pāpa-karma, but there are so many things in this world which can only distract you. They are not pāpa-karma as such, but they are distractive karmas. In this world there can be so many things. So if you constantly expose yourself to so many TV channels, news channels, constantly exposing yourself to all kinds of newspapers, and passing your time seeing some comedy serials, comedy movies, some TV serials, some video games. If you are constantly exposing yourself to so many what they call as social media, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. Now this, you can't call it pāpa-karma, it is not dushcharita, but one thing is for sure, it will distract your mind. You are busying yourself with so many non-essentials in the world. So such a person, when he sits at the seat of meditation, what happens? You will find that the moment you close your eyes, all these images will start coming one after the other. You have exposed your senses and the mind to so many things of the world, they will come and these images will flash in front of you. So you will be struggling to gather your mind. Now this is called as ashānti. How did this ashānti come? Because of your indiscriminate exposing your senses to the sense objects. This is the cause of ashānti. Remember, ashānti is always in the mind. But here, because the senses are the cause, indriya laulyam is the cause. Laulya means pampering the indriyas, senses. That's called indriya laulyam. Allowing it to see whatever it wants to see, allowing it to hear whatever it wants to hear. Now this is called indriya laulyam. First disadvantage is much of your energy is leaked when you indiscriminately interact with the world. Energy leakage happens, energy conservation doesn't happen. Just like a mobile is discharged when it interacts with the world, in the same way, when we interact with this world indiscriminately, lot of energy leakage happens. This is one. And second, at the seat of meditation, all these, whatever you have exposed to your mind and the senses, they will start becoming an obstacle, a distraction at the seat of meditation. This also we must know. Just observe the state of mind. When I watch a 3-hour movie, it may not be a bad movie, it may be a good movie itself. Just 3 hours you watch that movie and then you sit and meditate. Then you will know what senses can do to the mind. You will see the flashes coming in front of you. There are some scenes which have touched you. Those scenes will appear again and again in front of the mind. And this becomes the leakage point, the cause of wandering for the mind, and such a mind, to gather it, it is very difficult. End result is mind has become ashānta. So therefore what has to be done? We have to be very strict with respect to exposing our senses to the outer world. We have to be very strict. exposing our organs of knowledge, jnanendriyas. Now, indriya laulyam also can mean restlessness at the level of organs of action, hands, legs, restless. All the time legs are shaking, or I keep looking here and there, scratching here and there. No, they are all indriya laulyam only at karmendriya level. Maybe that is the reason why they have invented this chewing gum. Chewing gum. They keep on chewing. Why are they chewing? There is no reason. There is only one reason, and that reason is I can't keep quiet. I have to do something. So something means what? Okay, then keep on chewing. These are all signs of indriya laulyam. Restless mind expresses as restlessness at the body level, at the sense organ level. So this also we have to pay attention to. Senses are very good. If you use the senses for satsang, etc., you are making right use of these sense organs. But if sense organs are used to just indulge in the world, they can be our greatest enemy. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonu vidhiyate tasya harati prajñam vayurnavam iva ambhasi. So example given in Bhagavad Gita is like the unanchored boat being carried away by the wind. In the same way, indisciplined senses will carry away your mind and the intellect. It will never give you an anchor. It will never allow you to anchor yourself in the Supreme Self. So this is the second important thing which a spiritual seeker must pay attention to. Strict discipline at the sense level. How to discipline the sense organs? There is only one way, varanam. Always remind yourself of the goal. What is my goal of life? Doing this, will it take me towards my goal? So the more and more you are serious about the goal, the more and more disciplining the sense organs becomes easy. See, that is how that varanam is so important, choice. Yamevesha vrunute. The more and more you are serious, the more and more that intensity of mumukshutvam is there, the more and more you will be easily able to give up all these addictions at the sense organ level. That is the only solution. Right. So that is the second one. And now the third one. What is the third one? Na asamāhita. Samāhita means to gather. The one who doesn't have a gathered mind. Means what? So Bhagavan Shankarācharya says asamāhita means aneka agra manāhā vikshipta chitāhā. Aneka agra manāhā, the mind which is multi-pointed. Aneka agra, not ekagra, aneka agra. Multi-pointed. Vikshipta chitāhā, mind which is scattered, not gathered but scattered mind. This is the third important thing which we must pay attention to. So here what happens? Now here is a seeker who has overcome the first one. He is not doing any pāpa-karma. To a great extent he has overcome indulgence in the senses also. His senses are also disciplined. Now he is sitting at the seat of meditation. But now what is troubling his mind? His mind is troubled by his vasanas in the mind. So the moment you sit at the seat of meditation, all kinds of thoughts come. Sometimes sweet memories or bitter memories of the past, it can come and disturb you. Sometimes the moment you sit for meditation, immediately the mind thinks of important things to be done the whole day. Or the mind thinks, oh, I think I have not switched off the gas. I think I have not bolted the door. Oh, this message had to be sent to him. All these kind of things come. Distractions can be very many types. That's why it is called aneka chitta manāhā, anekagra manāhā. So many thoughts come. Or it can be some raga dvesha regarding some person whom you like, that person, his image may come, those moments may come which you have spent with that person, or some bitter feeling towards a person whom you don't like, or some experience that you have gone through. So now who is creating the problem? The problem is not created by outside world. The problem is created by the vasanas within. So this disturbance leads to what? It leads to a disturbed state of mind. So this is what is called as na asamāhita. Now if you see all these terms, they are all similar. Ashānta, asamāhita, ashānta mānasa, they appear to be similar, but there is a difference. Na ashānta means a mind disturbed because of indiscipline at the sense level. Na asamāhita means mind disturbed because of the vasanas gurgling from within. So how to overcome them? There is only one way, jnana, bhakti, vairagya, that is it. For all this, there is only one solution. Jnana, bhakti, vairagya, na asamāhita. So at the seat of meditation, when such thought come, make it very clear to the mind, for this 1 hour which I am going to sit, nothing will be given any priority, only God is a priority. With such focus, with such importance to God, when we sit, mind becomes quiet. Now there is another person, he is much more evolved. What is his condition? He is a very righteous person, he is a very disciplined person at the sense level, and also to a great extent he has conquered his vasanas also. Now he will also face another trouble. What is it? So here the 4th term is given, na ashānta mānasa. Ashānta mānasa. So what is the problem here? So Bhagavan Shankarācharya says, samāhita chittaha api san samadhana phalarthitvat ashānta mānasa. So as far as he is concerned, his mind is concentrated. He is to a great extent free from all vasanas. Concentration is not a problem, but there is one problem which troubles him. And what is that? Samadhana phalarthitvat. He is desiring the fruit of meditation. Now this also happens many times. For example, yesterday if my meditation was very good, so now today I expect that today also my meditation will be good. I insist on a good meditation. This is what happens in this path. The more and more you get addicted to the peace of meditation. So every time you sit, you have a great expectation that this meditation will be peaceful. And deep down you also insist that it must be peaceful. Now unfortunately, meditation is such a practice where you can't guarantee peace of mind. It's not necessary that you will get peace, because we don't know what kind of vasanas will gurgle up and will spoil the meditation. It is not like the body or the mind. As far as the body is concerned, yes, you can predict. For example, today if you are doing 10 push-ups, tomorrow definitely your push-up count will increase. It may be 11, 12, 15, it can go high. And every day when you do, every day it goes on increasing, it will never decrease. In the same way, while jogging also, every time you are always able to improve your performance. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, it keeps on increasing, it never decreases. So there is more of a predictability with respect to any physical exercise or mental exercise. But as far as meditation is concerned, you can't say, yesterday I gained 10 units of peace, today I must gain 20 units of peace, tomorrow I must gain 50 units of peace. No! It is possible yesterday you had gained 50 units of peace, today you are not even getting 10 units. It is possible. Today's meditation was totally gone. It's possible. So very many times what happens, the very insistence that I must be peaceful, I must get peace, that insistence spoils the meditation. So this is called as samadhana phalarthitvat. Somewhere deep down you are insistent that you must be peaceful. That very insistence, that very desire, that very expectation spoils the meditation. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita says, similar idea is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in the 12th chapter, where Bhagavan says, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. Jnana dhyanam vishishyate. Dhyanat karmaphalas tyagat shantihi anantaram. So far better than blind practice is knowledge. Better than mere knowledge is dhyana, meditation, practice with knowledge. That's called a dhyana. But dhyanat karmaphalas, better than meditation is karmaphalas, giving up the fruit of action. Meaning, giving up the insistence for the result of meditation. So what happens at that time? Tyaga, shanti, the moment you give up this insistence, shanti comes immediately. Now this is an obstacle. This obstacle of insistence is an obstacle for the advanced meditators. They are already experiencing peace. So therefore they are expecting more and more peace. This expectation becomes an obstacle. So what is the solution there? Karma phalatyaga is the solution. Or put in another words, Ishvara prasada buddhi. Bhagavan, you decide whether my mind has to be peaceful or not. You decide. I surrender unto you. So just like during sleep, we surrender to sleep. The desire for sleep also is given up and just we surrender. And what happens when we surrender? We just slip into sleep. In the same way, at the seat of meditation also, we must give up the insistence for peace. Then what happens? The moment we drop this insistence, peace comes. So this is the solution for this ashānta manas. Right. So now here 4 things are mentioned. Dushcharitat, ashāntaha, asamāhitaha, ashānta manasa. As far as the pāpa-karma is concerned, others also know, I also know. As far as the second one, indriya laulyam is concerned, others may or may not know. My indiscipline at the sense level, others may or may not know, but I know it. The third obstacle, the vasanas inside my mind, only I know it. And the fourth obstacle, ashānta manasa, even I may not know it. Now you will find that we are moving from the gross to the subtle. So as a person becomes more and more evolved in spirituality, what happens? He becomes more and more sensitive. So he evolves from the grosser mistakes and he becomes aware of the subtler mistakes being committed by him. This is what happens as we evolve spiritually. We become more and more subtle, the mind becomes more and more subtle. Subtler the mind, more easily it is able to detect the subtler mistakes we commit deep down in our subconscious mind. And when we are able to detect these mistakes, we are able to correct it also. That is how we evolve. So just like a microscopic vision is necessary to see microscopic objects, a telescopic vision is necessary to see faraway objects. In the same way, a highly purified, highly sensitive mind is necessary in order to understand the mistakes we commit in the path of spirituality. So as we evolve, now these are all the stages of evolution. Dushcharitat, still subtler is ashāntaha, still subtle is asamāhita, still subtle is ashānta manasa. So we become more and more evolved. We evolve through stages of subtlety. So these are the points which we must keep. For such a person, prajñānena enam apniyat. Such a person, when he gains his knowledge, definitely the knowledge has to happen. Otherwise, These could be the possible reasons why we are not evolving in spirituality. So again, insisting upon the qualification for a seeker, Yamarāja says the next verse, verse number 25, page 145. Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha ubhe bhavata odanah mrityur yasyopasechanam ka ittha veda yatra saha. Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha ubhe bhavata odanah mrityur yasyopasechanam ka ittha veda yatra saha. Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha ubhe odanah bhavati. For the one to whom Brahma and Kshatram, Brahmana and the Kshatriyas, both of them obey, odana, odana means food, bhavatah, has become. So that supreme self for which Brahmana and Kshatriya, they have become the food. Yasya mrityuhu upasechanam bhavati. To that supreme self for which even mrityu, Lord Death, is upasechanam, a curry, a side dish, a chutney, a pickle. Yatra saha, where is that supreme self? Where is he? Yatra saha iti kaha ittha veda. Who can know him? Who can know that supreme self? That supreme self which makes Brahmana and Kshatriya its food and Lord Death as its chutney, the side dish. Who can know that supreme self? Ittha, in this way. In this way, the way in which a wise person knows it, ittha, in this way, who can know it? Who, without these qualifications, can know that supreme self which has made Brahmana and Kshatriya its food and Lord Death its not even food, a side dish. So here again, the emphasis is upon the qualification necessary to gain that. So now we will see these terms. Now why this mention of Brahmana and Kshatriya? So Bhagavan Shankarācharya says, Brahma Kshatре sarva dharma vidharake api sarvatrana bhute. So Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, they are the upholders of dharma, and thus they are the protectors of all Brahmanas and Kshatriyas in the society. So therefore they are mentioned here. So how does these Brahmanas, they uphold truth, uphold dharma and protect everyone? So Brahmanas are the people, please understand, it is not Jati Brahmana, it is not by birth, but here when we say Brahmana, it is Guna Brahmana, by virtues. So as far as a Guna Brahmana is concerned, Sattva is maximum, then comes Rajas, then comes Tamas, SRT. So such a person, highly noble person, virtuous person, filled with Jnana Bhakti Vairagya, such a person is called a Brahmana. So what is his responsibility? His responsibility is to bring peace and harmony in the world. How does he bring peace and harmony? By giving the knowledge of the self, by giving the knowledge of the scriptures. So what happens when we give the knowledge of the scripture? The scriptures, they point out this one self residing in everyone. So it gives us the vision of oneness. Wherever there is vision of oneness, there is love. Wherever there is vision of oneness, there is virtues. So when people become virtuous, loving each other, cooperating with each other, then what happens? There is peace and harmony at the family level, at the national level, in the whole world level. So by giving right knowledge, Brahmana, they spread peace and harmony, they do the dharma samsthapana in this world. That's why Bhagavan says, Paritranaya sadhunam, I protect the sadhus. So these Guna Brahmanas are the sadhus. And through Guna Brahmanas, Bhagavan established dharma samsthapana. he brings peace and harmony in the society. So this way, Brahmanas, they are the upholders of dharma and they protect everyone. But there are very many people in the society who will not listen to these teachings. They are arrogant, they are egoistic, they are sensuous, indisciplined. To tame them, we have Kshatriyas. So again, Kshatriyas, they protect dharma by discipline, by enforcing the laws, by punishment. So those people who don't respect the law, they are forced to obey the law by punishment. So this job is done by Kshatriyas. Now what is their constitution? RST. They are rajasic or backed by sattva. So they are selflessly active in this world. So Kshatriya, they are the people who uphold dharma, they protect everyone through law enforcement. Now what about the other two? The Vaishyas. Vaishya's constitution is RTS. R, they are very active but backed by T, Tamas. So they are selfishly active. A selfishly active person can never uphold dharma. Under temptation, he will give up dharma. He will take to the adharmic path in order to make more money. Vaishya dharma is making money. So you can't trust a Vaishya as far as dharma is concerned. You can't trust a selfish person. Now these are all general categories. Exceptions can be there. So generally this is a trait of a Vaishya. We are talking of Guna Vaishya here. Now a Kshatriya is a person who can discipline this Vaishya. Now Vaishya, they have the great ability to make money. They are very good money managers. But the problem with them is they tend to become selfish. For the sake of their family, they might harm the nation. So then Kshatriyas have to come in order to discipline them. Under the disciplinary rule of a Kshatriya, Vaishyas can be a great blessing to the society because they generate wealth for the society. Again, as far as Shudras are concerned, their combination is TRS, Tamas first, very lazy people. But they have this ability, they have a very strong body and therefore they can physically construct roads and bridges and houses, etc. So all this labor class, generally they belong to this category. Guna Shudras, again they will not work unless there is a stick behind. Somebody has to force them to work. So again, it is the Kshatriya who makes the Shudras to perform action and thus contribute to the society. So Vaishyas and Shudras, they become positive contributors to the society under the disciplinary action of Kshatriyas. So this way, Brahmana and Kshatriya, they become the upholders of dharma and the protectors of all. Now, here what is said, that supreme self which devours Brahmana and Kshatriya, eats them, makes them its food. So here we have to understand Brahmana means Sattva, Kshatriya means Rajas, and the third one is Yamarāja, Lord Death. So Lord Death represents Tamas because every destruction we attribute it to tamasic quality. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So who is the one which devours Sattva, Rajas, Tamas? It is the Supreme Self, it is the pure consciousness. Now this is with respect to Samashti. So Srishti, Sthiti, Laya is happening. So the whole creation comes from consciousness. Now what is creation? It is nothing but three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And finally it dissolves in consciousness. So the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, three gunas come up from consciousness, they dissolve into consciousness. Now what is the nature of reality? Please remember, the whole creation is an illusion. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, they are nothing but illusions. And what is the only reality? Consciousness is the only reality. So therefore, upon these realities, these three gunas are projected and withdrawn. So that is why it is said, the Supreme Self is something, the Brahman is something which devours them, eats them up. It is something like this. When a person eats food, what remains? Food is gone, the eater alone remains, isn't it? In the same way, when consciousness eats sattva, rajas, tamas, what remains? Sattva, rajas, tamas is gone, what remains is pure consciousness. That happens during pralayavastha. Again when srishti comes, all the three come out. Again when pralaya comes, all the three go back. So therefore, it is rightly said that sattva, rajas, tamas, they are eaten by this ultimate truth, which is consciousness, which is Brahman. This is one meaning. The second meaning is from the vyashti standpoint, from the individual standpoint. So when a person knows this ultimate truth, that I am Brahman, so what happens to all the other individualities, all the other identities, the worldly identity? He may be a Brahmana, he may be a Kshatriya, it's possible. So when he comes to know I am Brahman, that I am Brahman identity devours all the other identities. In the society, he may have certain important roles to play, whatever the important role may be, whether it is a role of a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, all the roles are devoured by this identity. What is that identity? Aham Brahma Asmi. And death becomes a chutney. What does that mean? Again, he devours death also. That is the meaning. As far as ignorant people are concerned, ajnanis are concerned, death devours them. It is the death which eats them. But as far as a Mahatma is concerned, he is the one who has eaten death. Eaten death means what? As far as that Mahatma is concerned, who has known his Supreme Self, there is no death for him. In fact, he celebrates death. Death becomes a side dish means what? Now see, many times more than the food you like the side dish. It may not fill your stomach, but you enjoy it. In the same way, for a Mahatma, death comes as a celebration. He enjoys it. That also has a meaning. So his roles, his identity, his what you call individuality is dissolved in this experience of I am Brahman. And moreover, in him the death meets its death. Death is also gone. So this is the meaning from the standpoint of individuality. So from Vyashti's standpoint, all the gunas come and go back. Like the movie come and go back into the screen, screen alone remains. The illusory thing can never affect the real. This is the meaning. So from the totality standpoint, three gunas come up and go back into the reality. From the individual standpoint, all the identities are merged. Even the individual death has no importance, no significance for a Mahatma who has known the ultimate reality. So this is the meaning of this last verse in this Valli. So in short we can say Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is the essence of this last verse. The ultimate reality is only this pure consciousness, and everything else is just a play on this consciousness. Who can know this other than a wise man who has purified himself, who has gained the necessary qualification? This is what he said. So in this way, the second Valli comes to an end. So we can briefly summarize the entire second Valli. So it started with the path of Shreyas and Preyas. So what did Lord Yamarāja say? These two paths are totally different, against each other, with different goals, with different means. As far as path of Preyas is concerned, it concerns world as a means for happiness. As far as path of Shreyas is concerned, it concerns the Supreme Self as a means for happiness. One is the path of going out, the other is the path of coming in. One is taken by the unintelligent people, the other is taken by the intelligent one, wise ones. So the two paths are given. And then Yamarāja goes on to say that majority of the people, they take this path, the path of prayers. Very rare few they take the path of shreyas. So this knowledge is rare, the teacher is rare, the student is rare. In the society, they are all very rare ones who take this path. Then the qualification of the teacher is mentioned. The one who has gained this knowledge alone has the right to become the teacher, alone can transfer this knowledge efficiently. So only an efficient teacher can give this knowledge to an efficient student. So what is the efficiency of the student? Jnana, bhakti, vairagya, of course, what else? He must understand this world can never give me ultimate peace. So one who has understood the impermanence of the world through his right understanding, such a person becomes a fit student to gain this knowledge. So when the right teacher who has gained this knowledge gives this knowledge to the fit student, knowledge transfer has to take place. And then Yamarāja goes on to glorify Nachiketa, saying that you have all these virtues in full measure. In fact, you have much more virtues than me when I was a seeker. So this door towards the kingdom of the self is wide open to you, etc., etc. Yamarāja praises Nachiketa for his qualification. Then Nachiketa once again puts his question, Anyatra dharmat, anyatra dharmat. His question is there something which is beyond punya papa, beyond dharma dharma, beyond karya karana, cause and effect, beyond bhuta bhavya, past and future? Is there some such thing? So then Yamarāja says, definitely yes, there is something like that. The name of that ultimate truth is Om. It is this truth which is glorified in all the Vedas. It is this truth for gaining which all the seekers, they do all kinds of tapascharyas and brahmacharya, etc. They follow the path of brahmacharya. They do all austerities only to gain this ultimate truth. It is something which can be gained. And the name of this truth is Om. This is the name. And then Yamarāja goes on to describe the nature of this Om. It is none other than the Supreme Self in us. It is a pure consciousness in us. It is eternal in us. This body has to decay and die, but this Supreme Self, it never dies. A person can easily gain this one provided he has qualification. So this ultimate truth is shining as a very self in the core of our heart. And who is the person who can gain the experience of this? The one who is dispassionate, the one who has control over the mind and the senses, who has kept his mind serene. Such a person can dive deep and experience this subtle truth. It is the subtlest of the truth, so therefore the equipment, the mind also has to be very subtle to experience this truth. So this truth can be experienced by such a person who has cultivated his mind. And what is the end result of this experiencing the truth? Such a person becomes free from all sorrows. He becomes free from all sorrows and positively he gains the bliss of the self. So this is the ultimate goal one has to strive for. And who gets it? The one who chooses this, one who dedicates his life for this, one who keeps this goal as the ultimate priority of life and lives all his life for only this goal. Such a person alone gets it. Sadhanas are not important, the goal is important. Once the goal is set, then all the other sadhanas become meaningful. So, it is something which should be kept as the highest goal of life. So, this much we have seen in this valli. So, second valli gets over. Iti Kathopanishadi Prathama Adhyaye Dvitiya valli. Thus, the second valli of the first chapter gets over. So, in the next class, we will take up the third valli of the first chapter. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।